Alright, so we're back and now we're gonna create a few parts, compose a few different parts and make a few edits. Now the first thing I want to do is lower this bass line, not lower it, sorry, raise it to F sharp instead of E. And this will just add a bit of variation. It will sort of give us a difference between this first section over here and the second section over here where the root note is E. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take this up to F sharp, duplicate it out, copy and paste that. And I'll do the same with the space here. And finally, the sub bass. In fact, I think we can just copy that. Yep. Cool, so now we've got this. And it's a bit higher. Just gonna get some volume to this here. It sounds pretty good, but I want to add a few more layers to this bass. It's not powerful enough for me. So I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to call it bass 4. It's going to follow the same pattern as the main bass. I will use Spire. And I'm going to pick sound, let's see. Sound here is up. It's not a bass sound, but it does sound kind of cool. And we get that nice little stab at the end of it. Which I'm not sure if I like or not. No, I'm going to leave it there for now. I think it adds a little bit to the rhythm. I'm going to add some saturation to that. Pull the volume down, and you can hear that it fills in the bass line quite well actually. So we'll call this bass 4, and I'm going to duplicate that, and I will take off the saturator. And now I want a different sound. I want a, let's see what we've got here. Space here. Just to add a little bit of width to it and a little bit more high end. You can hear it creeping up on the sides there. Call that bass 5. And now I want something that plays in alternate patterns. So not playing the same thing, but more of like a stab of sorts. So I'll chuck one of those in. Let's see. Make it 2 bars long. I'll have a stab just before. Have one. There we go. Looks good. Duplicate that up. And I will pick, let's see, it's a good bass in first big room. I believe. There we go. Need the stab. Very nice. It works well. I'll chuck a bit more reverb on it. And we'll actually duplicate this and have one playing more often. So basically every like that. Or even second one maybe. And this one here is going to have no delay reverb on it. Just adding a bit extra. Okay, so rename these appropriately. Bass 6 and bass 7. So now our bassline is sounding a lot more full on, a lot more interesting. Instead of how it sounded before, if I take all these away, it's a lot thicker. That's good, but we don't, I'm not sure if we want all of these in the chorus. I feel like it would muddy it up too much, so I'm going to leave them as is. Maybe this bass here we could use. Just listen to how that sounds. Yeah, see, it makes it a bit too muddy, so I'm going to leave that out for now. And we'll move on now and sorry, create something, compose something, I suppose you could say. So I'm going to open up the synths. I'll minimize the basses so we don't need to look at them. And on this pluck sound here, I want to create something that will fit in this section, the bass section. So I want it to come in after 8 bars, and I want it to lead into the breakdown. So we'll start it here, and it'll probably be, let's say, a 4-bar progression or melody. It'll be different to the main lead. We want to add a bit of variation. So just going to start plugging in something here. And then we'll go down to, let's see. D. And F sharp. Then we'll go back up here again. That's kind of cool. It works with the bass line. It works with the rest of the song, so I'm going to drag that out. And we'll have that play up to bar 65, but at that point, it's going to change. And we want our basses to continue playing there. I want to add another thing as well, something to build the tension slowly. So maybe in arpeggiator or arpeggiated sequence, make it go 16 bars, play out a long note, F sharp. Let's see, where are we? And I'm going to choose Spire again. I'm going to save. Pop Spire in. Bigger and Essentials 1, 3. And that works. So we'll have the cutoff filter opening, slowly, build tension, as well as the reverb amount as well. There we go. Pull that up. Color this properly. And that's cool. So that's another element that we've added in there. And I also want a pad coming in, playing this progression we've got here. So let's copy that in. And we will click a pad. Again, using Spire. Before I do that though, I'm going to come in here and just make sure that these are extended out instead of playing stabs. There we go. That adds just a lot more atmosphere to it. But now comes the relatively difficult part. This is really hard when you're, making a song and you're someone who struggles with the composition aspect. The breakdown or the bridge, and this is where the song is going to lower in energy. It's going to maybe, break apart from the main themes in the song and introduce something different. That's what we're going to do. We're going to create a pad progression. Now, what I'm going to do is actually, instead of staying on the F sharp, which we are over here, I'm going to go into the E. And you'll see the last chord here, or the last interval, sorry, its root note is on an E. This sounds pretty cool, and you'll see how it sounds in a moment after I've added this progression. It sort of leads into the breakdown on the same chord on the same note, and you get this really interesting effect. But what it means is that you can transition nicely into this main lead, which actually starts on the E, and it doesn't sound broken or anything like that. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm going to start working on a progression. I'm going to start with that same interval. So let's see where it is. E3, there we go. Just going to extend this out a bit more. And I want this paired progression to evolve. So I want more voices to come in as it progresses. So I'm going to copy this out, and then I'm going to add in, let's see what we've got. C, E, and the B down there. So we're getting this really rich sort of sound. And we'll copy this out again and add even more voices. So we'll go up a bit higher. going to play that from start to finish. Now you'll notice down here that I've actually removed those voices again just to add a bit of tension. Now I really like that. I'm going to copy and paste this over to the pluck so we get a bit more going on. So that sounds great, but one thing I noticed was that it sort of ends too abruptly. What I mean by that is that it ends and then the lead comes in straight away. I feel like there needs to be a bit of a break between the lead and the end of the pad. So if you listen to the end of this, it sounds a little bit unnatural. So what I want to do is actually have this lead play a good 2 bars after. So give it a bit of rest first to trail out and keep that tension up, I suppose. I'm going to select all of this and just move it out by 2 bars. And quite a few songs do this. So now we have this, we're building up. So that silence beforehand just adds a lot of tension and makes the lead seem a lot bigger. So that sounds good. What I want to do is have a bit of a lead into that lead. Bit of a, suppose, reverse reverb tail, if that's what it's called. So I'm going to save now that we've done that. And I'm going to duplicate this lead channel and basically just remove everything apart from the first note. So this here. So if I solo this, you'll be able to hear that is just the one note. And I will turn the reverb and decay up a little bit and freeze it. Graphics problem. It's all good. And then flatten. So now we've got this this tail. What we can do with this is use it to lead into our lead, like so. I normally like to have a bit of silence before the lead actually hits. So we have this. A little bit of a click at the end there. You know, we can put this in other places as well. For example, before the chorus. So that's pretty much the composition of parts and a few edits. It's starting to come together now. The full track is sounding pretty coherent and cohesive. effects, tension and energy is what we need to focus on next. So at the moment, this track is, all the main parts are there, but it's a little bit boring and it's a little bit less energetic than it could be. We need a few, some snare rolls, some rises, white noise, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. We're going to work on the build-ups and intention and so on. We're going to adjust these. Actually, we'll do that now. We'll adjust these markers, seeing as the whole thing has changed. It's been moved forward by 2 bars. And it can get quite annoying, I will admit it, when you move things forward by 2 bars. Because Ableton's grid is set like this, it can be quite frustrating to look at things and have to work out where they are. But it's worth it for the difference that this little break makes. Right, so that's that. Again, in the next video, tension and energy, adding effects, and all that kind of good stuff. I'll see you then.